Good example and welcome. You're watching Bhutan This Week, our weekly news magazine program. First, the headlines. Rugalpo's Relief Kidu launched for those affected by COVID-19 pandemic. More than 420 people sent home after completing their 3 weeks quarantine. World Bank slashes Bhutan's economic growth. And now the story in details. Prime Minister Dr. Lotay Sring launched the Rugalpo's Relief Kidu for those directly affected by COVID-19 pandemic on Tuesday. With the launch, affected individuals can now apply for the Relief Kidu from their website royalkidu.bt and can also call the toll-free number 1188 for further assistance.
Prime Minister Dr. Lotay Sring said that Rugalpo's Relief Kidu will cover all individuals who have been directly affected by the pandemic.
COVID-19 gi neji digi be te lada yogi kokop ja sab leni gi kokop mathop be te zase soma sub jodo se gi thugi chage nami semi jedi gi be dari gi kidu gi lerim ngomba di shu ngomba di dari gi ngachi gopchite de begomi di dani se chuni be la.
People who have been laid off or placed on unpaid leave from business affected by COVID-19, including Bhutanese who have returned home and do not have any source of income, are eligible to apply for the Kidu. Likewise, employees on reduced salary and self-employed individuals who have lost their earnings either partially or completely are also eligible for the Kidu. However, employees on reduced salaries and self-employed individuals like taxi drivers, truck drivers and freelance guides who have lost their earning partially will only be eligible for 50% of the total Kidu amount.
Shui pimi jata tita be sible tendigi be mamachin yintang guda chutamgi nangko nalu da shuik di de ngojor duti che kidu thobe tangsu imsmigi da tin nibang sms second di de konlu ma konragi jut dultrin nalu peong si shunila.
The relief Kidu amount will be directly deposited to the respective personal saving accounts of the beneficiaries. And beneficiaries without any personal saving accounts, the Relief Kidu will be disbursed through the Dzongkhag administration. The Kidu will be available for the months of April, May and June. However, Kidu amount has not been finalized yet. Meanwhile, if an applicant does not fit the eligibility criteria, the applicant can call the toll-free number 1188 where the details will be recorded for further review by the committee. This is Pasang Doji for BBS News.
The central bank, in collaboration with financial institutions, will defer the loan repayment period and waive off interest for 3 months beginning April. This will ensure the country to battle one of the biggest difficulties due to the current pandemic. This monetary measure is to provide short-term monetary relief to sectors facing such financial distress, in addition to assisting businesses and local production.
Deferment of loan repayment will apply to performing as well as non-performing loans. But this doesn't apply for loans to government, loans to financial institutions, and staff incentive loans. Clients will also not be charged interest on the loans during the deferment period. But the interest waiver shall apply to only performing loans as of 29 February 2020. The cost of the interest waiver will be shared equally between the government and the financial service providers. As for the tourism-related business, the financial institutions will give loans at an interest rate of 5% per annum to meet operation expenses. The National CSI Development Bank will also provide loans for 3 months to help the cottage and small industries. Meanwhile, the finance minister said deferment of business income tax and corporation income tax for 3 months is one of the fiscal measures taken.
디술이 등아지 친구 가락이 되고야 남이 essential items 등아지 필요한 남진도들 계획이 같이 탑편트리나 남진베디 배워진 디기 짜담기 체디다 송체디 대마지 고야 남이 이제 등아지 서치 레전다 대선은 행카드 치가베 고린 탑신다 맞아요. 뒷된저 고백이 사통기 짜남기 리디 등아지 소주베자네 디별로 나제 일제 생각이 갖을래 죽사주 레전드 텔금 림자 숨주수 딘제치 등아지 들우기 토레브라 디잡주피
One of the immediate economic impacts of COVID-19 is the disruption of business operations resulting in loss of income and employment. Samtin Dolkar, BBS News.
Experts predict that domestic violence and online trafficking cases are expected to rise amid COVID-19 pandemic. Although there are no such cases reported in the country currently, it is said more people could fall prey to harassment and online sex abuse and trolling as working from home and home quarantine has become the norm during the outbreak.
Most people have locked themselves up in their homes. It protects them from the current pandemic of COVID-19. On the flip side, it is expected to give rise to another major problem, domestic and gender-based violence against vulnerable groups such as women and children. With schools closed and restrictions imposed on going outside unnecessarily, children are likely to be neglected and abused more by their parents, guardian or caregivers, and also witness violence happening in the family more frequently. According to the National Commission for Women and Children, the current pandemic gives an increased situation to threats beyond the risk of getting infected with the virus. It limits the opportunities for survivors to leave and call for help. With people being mostly indoors and at home, sequestered with the abuser, the victims lose a safe space to call help. Survivors seek help when the abuser is not at home. With the pandemic, so many people have started working remotely on computers and children are aided with mobile phones to study online. In addition to domestic and gender-based violence, the United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime states that risk of online exploitation increases too.
Now, a number of factors can add on to the vulnerabilities, including the hampered ability of the government, families and communities to provide for the people's basic needs, and also the breakdown of social safety nets and other protective systems which are otherwise in place but hampered during these difficult times. Restrictions on movement may also shift the forms of exploitation. For example, women and children may be commercially, sexually exploited online by their traffickers and also within private homes.
As of now, amid the pandemic, the NCCC did not receive any specific cases related to gender-based violence and child protection issues. The Commission has services available in promoting and protecting the rights of women and children 24/7. However, calls seeking information on services available for during the current COVID-19 situation were received. Samtin Dolkar, BBS News.
More than 420 people recently completed their 21-day quarantine periods in Paro. They were sent home with their certificate of completion of quarantine. Rapid tests of their blood samples were also carried out before their release.
The atmosphere around the quarantine facilities, which was quiet till now, is filled with joy and energy today. Families, friends and relatives have come to take their loved ones home. But before they are released, the health teams collect blood samples and conduct rapid tests to rule out the virus. They share they are relieved at being able to go home without any setback.
First time
I was worried as the number of cases in India rose day by day. I came from India as well. Earlier, I was not very confident of the 2 weeks quarantine period, but later when it was extended to 21 days, I felt safe.
We were skeptical that we would be discriminated for coming from India, but it is not the case. I was scared when the officials took our blood samples, but it was a relief after getting the negative certificate.
21 days period the sim gaila ngaji jaga kya khamna peshi ta na umda the first time ni di
I was not happy in the beginning when I had to stay in the quarantine center. In the first week, I was scared and felt like I was sick even though I was fine. But later I got used to and comfortable. Today during the test also I was scared, but when the health officials said my test results were good, I was very happy.
It was a sleepless night for me. I couldn't sleep the whole night, and I woke up and I was just trying to check if my daughter was online. At 3 o'clock she wasn't sleeping as well, and I just said, "Are you excited to be home, Karma?" And she's like, "I'm very much excited, Mama." And around 10 o'clock she called me and said that her sample has been taken. I was still praying that, that bad news shouldn't come, Silla. And finally, I received a call from my daughter saying to come and pick her up. So I just hurriedly came.
Some of them share the experience at the quarantine facilities were almost home-like.
Quarantine facility
The quarantine facilities are satisfying. Our food gets stopped till our doorstep. It was same as staying at home. We are very grateful.
The
quarantine facilities are really great. It's almost to the point that there's nothing more that can be done. The rooms are really nice, the food is nice, everything comes on time. So yeah, it's very lucky for everyone to be able to come home and stay in a facility like this. I'm really excited to finally be able to leave the quarantine facility. Although it's great, it's nice to be home with your family. And even though I'm excited, I'll still do my best to stay home.
Meanwhile, all the quarantine centers will be disinfected. There are 31 quarantine centers in Paro alone. For Namgyewachu in Paro, Yishe Gelson, BBS News.
And some heartwarming stories there amidst pandemic. Now, as more people complete their quarantine, Prime Minister Dr. Lotusring is urging them avoid loitering as much as possible. It comes after observing that these days many people, especially students who have been released after quarantine, are seen in the town almost every day.
With the certificate saying he or she completed the 21 days quarantine and he is tested negative, we are not declaring he or she negative. Tested negative, but there is a small window of that negative being false negative. That is with all other tests. So the medical science, the history nalo, there is no test that is 100% specific. All negatives are negative, 100% bibi test me wala. So any coronavirus ki test de anzumchi is not 100% specific test. It's a highly sensitive test though. If it is positive, almost always positive.
The Prime Minister said in the last 2 days, more number of people is seen in the towns in Phinsoling, Paro and Thimphu. Even businesses are open as usual.
Incubation period di 5-6 days in abugi kanche kenla. That cohort bomb quarantine na jomidi the 3rd day in the town yu. Another 2-3 days dechnale fever thomi masu meonga ase. Phali thomi diso khora carrier be on test the negative be tenso, they go out, mix around in a community, and then the susceptible ones will get the infection and be symptomatic. Tani watching at another 3-4 days dechle the nabugidi mikeno, but surveillance as a step up be used to be. Taneling achigi positive chingi topsha watching, then is clear that from the quarantine na let so false negative tentumime, now this has shed the virus in the communities.
As of now, there are 5 cases reported in the country, of which 2 have recovered. All of them are imported. Shinzam, PBS News.
With the unpredictable nature of COVID-19 spreading in the neighboring countries, the Health Ministry repeatedly advised people to refrain from traveling. However, more than 10,000 people traveled within the country in less than a month.
tatonga charama chimsagya khapki ma kate ngachi gi kadebe ina chikhamago datenga chikate tata chila tatonga charagi tabe udai milalu mashochira jogop dende imega sem bebe te tawachin den jogop dendera di memela te peroe jodira du nami same jomongo kha chitok to nami same mi bewachin te tari pakochi achichi zemdi shuna se tenga chigi iktore tabe udalu te halam mi tongtha chutham lapchi te dodil benula nim dauchi menu den tari dunle tari chenga chönsogi nangkonalu.
In an act of solidarity as the nation battles with various facets of the coronavirus impact, some house owners in the country temporarily waived house rents or offered discounts. This bolsters the government's effort of relief to those severely affected by the pandemic.
A house owner in Thimphu said it is his moral conscience and compassion to pass on the benefits that His Majesty the King has granted to loan borrowers. Last week, in an address to the nation, His Majesty the King deferred loan repayment period and waived interest payments for 3 months. The owner is waiting to hear from the bank regarding the waiver and deferment of loan, after which he will look at 30 to 50% waiver of monthly rent for his tenants. He has 3 tenants who are directly dependent on the tourism sector, the most affected sector by the coronavirus pandemic. Similarly, a few house owners in other districts have come forward to support their tenants by either doing away with the rent or giving discount. Dinanath Adhikari, a landlord from Tirang, decided to consider the welfare of more than 20 tenants who are small-scale businessmen or private employees.
Due to the COVID-19 pandemic, many people, including businessmen, are affected. Therefore, I decided to waive 50% rent for my tenants for 3 months. They also need money for their livelihood. When the government is working hard to help its people, we should understand and do our part.
In Phunthaling, an owner has foregone rents for a 10-apartment building. Likewise, an owner of a 43-unit commercial building in the heart of Phunthaling town has also given up 50% rent for 3 months.
Jachale ngapchu goya shabu da lote ro jindagi nam siminga chiluki du zi se shunila te tisenim chikhalo karalo tak madu ju te cholo thopop be da lote ngachi jindagi bedo zumbe te jemigi chimgi jindadi suge betapchu yebachin te karalo penthoni me se shunila.
For now, the pace has been set. With many building owners considering the rentals, it is only a matter of time before they follow suit. And observers can only remark that a nation with a common objective to overcome the pandemic together is well on track. Giledim for BBS News.
Now on the economic front, owing to the pandemic, the World Bank predicts Bhutan's gross domestic product growth between 2.2% to 2.9% by the end of July. The country's economic growth projection before the pandemic was 6.5%. Other than Bhutan, all South Asian countries are likely to record worst economic performance in 40 years.
The World Bank report states that Bhutan anticipated a strong rebound last fall due to hydropower sector. However, the severity of the lockdown in India is expected to affect Bhutan's electricity export growth. 37% of total exports consist of electricity sold to India. India's economy, the biggest in the region, is expected to grow only 1.5% to 2.8% in the fiscal year that started this month, down from an expected 4.8% to 5%. With slow growth in India's economy, the report predicts reduction in external demand for non-hydro goods and services from Bhutan and will have an effect on agriculture and construction sectors. The World Bank reported that in worst-case scenarios, South Asian economy could shrink
triggering a recession in some countries that will linger in 2021. The Maldives economy would be the worst hit, with collapse of tourism. The report recommends temporary work programs, debt reliefs, and cutting red tape on imports and exports of essential goods as economic relief. The report also highlights governments need to ramp up action to curb health emergency, especially for the most vulnerable. Sangishizom for BVS News.
And with 10 positive COVID-19 cases in New York in the US, Bhutanese community there have formed a task force and already rented 2 apartments as quarantine facility. About 20 patients can be accommodated in the apartments.
It has been a week since the Bhutanese community rented the apartment in New York, and 2 patients are in the facility for now.
domdi mawa mi gu dechulo tobno seshonila mi gu vesale ta te mini di ta yuki te role chimbera te mi tobno seshonila te ta konra china beru te tu ta kachul quarantine bebe yuki tsan de jiberi ka benula.
And it is all taken care by the task force.
Chora gudi mangile mela machitina lu charo bodalu te ta mangil tole beru toro konri hatule na gimisesi hatule te matutu pe bedi te ta ti na chimtsu na chige quarantine gi chimtsu midusu nebisu ke jasi gitte na lu berwe te tu ta ya ngadalu muchida te shungi hatule te na midusu le te kujo ya ke ni me chive te kongi na machilu te task force lu te lab du se shunila te ta na du mi machara du cha chalo girabe ngachina gi chudi ngachara na ra sansu chive.
The facility boasts of all the required facilities.
Yumigi ya mimi ma vitu duyula. Ne hanigi mache toto tigi tando se shunila. Te tama korinto na bache facility kacho yiso wachin ka neti nalma machigi ba ma korinto na kevda. Korigi personal ta kyunigi kolati matuchi jen kache ba mgol minalu. Nesigi palong den nacha sani tuni talente chapsana wana chushota la minalu chinagi hand sanitizer, gloves, talent kapuni ni takaslo la mauko anshida ka ratinalu.
Patients at the quarantine facility are also being monitored by a Bhutanese nurse who works in New York. There are some 160,000 cases in New York City alone, but more than 50,000 recovered. The US as a whole has 462,000 cases. Tsinzam, BBS News.
Gilifu Vegetable Market would usually be flooded with local green chilies, but with the closure of the Indo-Bhutan border gate due to the COVID-19 crisis, green chilies have become a rare commodity in the area. Locals say the chilies are being taken to other districts where they get more profits.
Before the start of the COVID-19 problems, green chilies were available abundantly in Gilifu. And despite import of chilies being banned and monitored, some vendors would still bring in chilies from the neighboring Indian town and sell them secretly. This has however stopped as the border gates are now closed. And locals say all the green chilies are being taken to Thimphu.
There are no green chilies in Gilifu. Vegetable vendors said all the locally produced green chilies are taken to Thimphu since they get high prices there.
There are not many farmers taking up chili farming in the villages, and even if there are, the locals sell it among themselves. Moreover, people in the urban areas demand chilies in bulk from the locals, creating the gap of shortage.
We don't know why we are not getting green chilies, but Indian dry chilies are available in abundance. Last time there was a notification asking the vendors not to revise the prices of food essentials. The price of dry chilies was fixed at 250 ngultram per kilogram, but today it is 280 ngultram per kilogram.
Meanwhile, the vegetable vendors say farmers are refusing to sell them their chilies and instead supplying them directly to Thimphu, where they are fetching more money. For Karmawandi in Gilifu, Isha Gelton, BBS News.
And that is it in this week's edition of the Bhutan This Week. Thank you for joining us.